morning, Tobago, and welcome this morning to GMT. It is Beneath the Surface. Straight talk, no chaser. This morning we will be chatting with Councillor/Secretary Tashia Burris. She's going to be on the program this morning, even as we look into the background of some of the accomplishments and achievements of the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities, and Transportation. We want to hear from her. We want to talk with her. We want to get into the background. We want to know what makes her tick, what makes her, how has life changed for her within the last 4 years. And we're certainly happy to have her in our company this morning. Good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning.
Councillor/Secretary Burris.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning. And I want you to clear for our viewers this morning. Now, the House has just been dissolved.
Yes.
As a result of that, your portfolio of councillor ended
last night. Essentially, yes.
Right.
Because we take 2 oaths of office. So the first oath of office you take is as a councillor, and then you take your oath of office with your portfolio as a secretary or an assistant secretary. So your portfolio of secretary, assistant secretary remains until you are replaced. So when the election is called and somebody wins and they go through the process of taking their oaths, then your term comes to an end. But for the purposes of the House, you have members, and we are all taking our oaths of office as members of that House, and that House no longer exists. So in essence, I am no longer a councillor. I'm still the secretary until I'm replaced, yes.
Right.
But the term of the House has come to an end.
What does that do for your psyche at this point in time?
To be honest with you, it feels like you've run a marathon, and this is the part where you cross the finish line and you collapse in exhaustion, in awe, in happiness because you made it. The job is not easy by any stretch of the imagination, and as simple as people would look at us being in the House, you mentally have to prepare to go in that place because remember, you are seated in a space where many have gone before you, many who their names have been written in history, and there's always this pressure, I think, at least for me, there's always this pressure to, am I living up? Am I living up to the people that went before me? Am I being a proper representation of the people that went before me? Am I making these people proud? I could tell you that I've not always had proud moments because I feel that the combativeness that the House brings lends itself sometimes to bringing out the worst in you. But, yesterday I think...
Honest.
That's very honest, yes. But I think getting into last night, talking about the plans for the future, talking about what we were able to accomplish over the last 4 years, gave me a sense of pride and joy. Sitting among my team members, maybe for the last time, because you never know what could happen. I feel like if this team has really done an excellent job, given the challenges that we had to face, given the obstacles that we had to, overcome, given all the things that we went through together, I just walk away very grateful for the opportunity and with a sense of pride in what we were able to accomplish.
I'm really happy that you were able to share that. Now, when you first took office back in 2021, what was the Tobago that you envisioned, and how close have you come to that vision?
I honestly thought that COVID would have been a reset button. I feel that when we were coming back out, we should have come back out with this renewed sense of purpose because we were confined to quarters for so long. And the things that we took for granted when we were outside before COVID and, living with this idea that a worldwide pandemic has happened within our lifetime and everything that has come with that. We digested a lot of media. We saw what was happening all over the world. So I thought that we would come out with this sense of renewed purpose and excited and ready to work and productive, and we put in a new administration, so we're ready for change and we're willing to support and stuff. Yeah.
However, I sense a however coming here.
Some people got on board, very quickly. And I must say that walking into it without having any background as to what to do, I got a lot of support. My first administrator was with me for 10 days. And in that 10-day period, she tried to teach me everything that she thought I needed to know before she went off. Exactly, because she got a promotion. So she's now a deputy permanent secretary in Trinidad. And then my second administrator, who I knew before I got into the job, she really was that anchor for for me in that first year. She was with me for 1 year, and she was able to really provide a lot of support to me in hitting the ground running and getting a lot of things going in the division immediately out of COVID. The challenge is getting everybody else on board, because being home lent itself to, a lot of complacency as well. You kind of get lazy, and getting people back into the mindset that we have to work, because we have to build Tobago. Nobody's going to come and fix this place for us. Nobody is going to wave a magic wand and poof, Tobago becomes the greatest city island on the planet. The people of Tobago are the ones that have to build this idea of the greatest city island on the planet. And then people have to kind of look at, what does that mean for me personally? What is the greatest? What does that look for me? Does it look like a clean Scarborough? Does it look like us being able to give a living wage to all of the persons who are working on island? Does it mean that everybody is living in the house of their dreams? Is it that we get a 24/7 water supply and a 365 24/7 electricity supply? Does it mean that we abolish book bags and our children are simply going to school with laptops and all the work is there for them to be able to do? That our green spaces are some of the greenest spaces and we're able to have perfect work-life balance? Whatever that looks like. But nobody's going to create that for you. There's nothing on the face of this earth that has not been done by somebody else somewhere else already. And if those are the things that we want in Tobago, then we have to make up our minds that we are the persons that have to create that for ourselves. So it's been a challenge trying to get people on board with the idea of the greatest city island on the planet, because it still feels like a dream for many. But the thing about dreams is that dreams can be as big as you want them to be. And except that you are asking pigs to fly, I don't think there's anything that anybody could dream of right now that we are not able to do once we all get on board with that dream.
But it calls for all of us to partner.
It does, yes, it definitely does.
All right. What was your biggest surprise or learning curve as a secretary? Something no amount of preparation could have anticipated?
Public life. Yeah, I'm not a public person. I've been private my entire living existence. So all of the functions and having to be on all the time, having to have my hair perfect, which I kind of give up on because I'm a Rasta woman at the end of the day. But, there's this idea that there's this perfection that people expect from you. That's impossible. There are days that you're simply tired. There are days that you just need a break. There are days that you can't answer your phone as soon as somebody calls, or you can't respond to that message. And it's not that you don't want to. And there's a lot of guilt that comes with that, because people have this expectation that you should be on all the time. And then when you do take that time for yourself, it's almost like if you're being vilified for wanting to take time for yourself. I could tell you that having to deal with the prayer pressure of having to be on cost me my health. I've been hospitalized 3 times in this job for exhaustion and low blood. And because I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, but I was just going because there's always a deadline. There's always a call. There's always a meeting. There's always a place to go. There's always people expect the most of you. And because you don't want to disappoint, sometimes you kind of sacrifice yourself in the middle of all of that. So I didn't come into this with an idea of being able to balance. There are days that you can give of your best, but it's okay to take rest. It's okay to listen to your body when it's saying to you, look, I need you, some things are happening here. I need you to take care of me. I need you to sort me out. So it didn't prepare me for that, but I learned those lessons along the way, I suppose.
All right, and those were some really difficult lessons to learn.
Yes.
All right. How was life changed for you as a leader? Life as a mother. What has changed within the last 4 years?
A lot. My daughter has grown up. My kids have grown up. My son is a young man. He's 22, and I'm so very proud of him. He's lecturing at NESC, and he's just been a rock for me. During this time in the beginning. And my daughter, she's 15 and she's in high school, and you're going through the motions of being a young teenager. It's been a challenge because I've been more away than with her, so that there's a comparison between me being present with my son and me not being able to be as present with her during this time as I would have with him. But I think that she's kind of gotten to the place where she understands the why in this, why I had to come in, why I have to be it. And she has come around to being one of my biggest supporters. In addition to that, even in my personal life, love has found me. And,
tell us about it.
So, there's this anchoring that I think that you need, because sometimes as a woman, you have this tendency to think that because you've been doing things on your own for so long that you don't need anyone. Once you have sleep and you could relax ever so often, you're fine. But, one of the things that happened to me during the course of this term is that I got baptized. Okay. So that the faith that I had before has grown exponentially. So I try to always lead with that faith. And one of the things that I prayed for was for a husband. I prayed for a stable, loving relationship for someone who was built for me, even in this time, because you're not too sure about people's intention. You don't know if they're in love with the spotlight, if they're in love with the public eye, they're in love with the whatever that comes with
the
it.
Person or
and the Lord just sent me this perfect man, like this. He's so nice. Anyway, it's everything that I think that I ever needed. Yes. And it's, sometimes you see the thing you want to know, and that is not the thing that is for you. But then the prayer that I prayed was send me who you have for me.
Yeah.
Not who I want. Send me who you have for me. And he showed up. Okay. And he's been showing up. And every morning when I wake up, he messages me, because he doesn't live in Tobago, he lives in Trinidad. He messages me and he says, he calls me T, you are my world. And if everything else is going crazy, that statement by itself anchors me. So it's very, very important to have that support system. My parents have been an immense support to me, aside from my kids, my significant other, my parents, and then I have this whole ecosystem of people who message my phone with encouragement from all over, who's in England, who's in the United States, who's writing Crown Point, and the older people too. They are the ones that have been praying for me. They will send me Bible verses religiously every morning. There's a particular person who sends me a Bible verse. They have sent me a Bible verse every morning since I've been in this job. And these are the things that keep me going. These are the things that make all of the stress and all of the sacrifice worthwhile. These people, yeah.
Now, I know Tobago is asking the question, even as you've mentioned publicly, that life has changed and there is now a significant other. When is the date?
Oh, well, I don't know. Funny enough that you've asked that, because, I know that you wanted to talk about, what happened in September when I was out for that little while. I don't know if you want to get into that now.
Does it have any bearing on the date?
Yeah, technically, yes.
It has. Okay, so then we're going to get into that.
So, I guess there was a lot of speculation as to what was going on, and it was not a situation meant to alarm anyone.
But this is let's just make it clearer to the viewers that this happened in September. This is in September.
So what happened in September is that for me, I needed some time off. Right. And I requested that time off. I went to my boss and I said, look, I needed some time off. I know what my body is telling me. I'm tired. We came off this very brutal season. We had Heritage going into Tobago Day, going into Carrot Festa, going into Toronto, so that I was just going. And while everybody else, the house was on break July, August, and people had the opportunity to take some time and relax a little bit and that kind of thing. I didn't have that opportunity. And I felt like if my body was saying to me, look, you need some rest. So the week of my birthday was the week that I said to the chief, look, chief, I just need some time. Can I just take this week? And he said, yes, go ahead. I'll hold the fort for you. And that's fine. And I went to Trinidad to spend time with my then boyfriend. And then I walk into this space and then he proposes to me. And that's exactly what happened. He proposed to me that very week. And I was shocked, yes, because naturally I didn't expect that. But outside of that, in the moment that it happened, it felt the most natural, real, right thing
to do
in that moment. But then in the aftermath of it all, it became this whole thing. And I went through some stuff during that, like mentally and physically, because it is almost like if, again, you don't get a moment, you don't get a chance to simply say, look, I just need a moment. And I think that week was the week that really tested us in terms of, do we want this thing? Can I be with this person? Because he's not in public life at all. Could I be with her? Could I support her in all this? Can I shield her? Can I protect her? Can I be a safe space for her to just be herself? And he was able to do all of those things. So, and every day since then, and every day before that, he's just simply showed up for me. And he continues to show up for me. And, you know, going through even that period, it's almost like if, at this stage, to be honest with you, before I met him, I was not thinking about marriage.
Okay.
I had made up my mind that I don't want to be married. I'll be a cat lady. I'll get old and have cats and books, right? I'll be fine. And grandchildren. But he's changed my entire viewpoint when marriage is concerned. And we have discussed a date. So hopefully it will be happening pretty soon. And I guess the world will know then. But yeah, all of that is something that I have to look forward to.
Later this year, next year. Okay,
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Okay, okay. At least we have some timeline next year. Okay. All right, we're really happy. And this was in regards to Assemblyman Duke asking where you will.
Yeah, that's funny that he asked that, because I never saw him to be too concerned about what was going on with me. I mean, considering that he threw away an election while we were running mates together. And I mean, I kind of do appreciate those kind of things, because I could tell when somebody's being genuine. And, you know, for me, that was not a genuine. If you really, no.
Okay.
I mean, he is who he is. I am always grateful for the fact that he brought me into politics. He is the person that said to me, look, I think that you would be great at this.
He saw the potential.
Yes. So that I will not take that away from him. But he had my phone number. If he was concerned genuinely about me, or concerned genuinely about anything he was hearing, he could have easily picked up the phone. And a lot of people, for me, I think that I would judge someone's genuineness by that. You don't have to ask about me in the media. You could message me, you could call, I would answer, I would let you know.
You are accessible.
I don't have to hide about where I am or whatever. I was right here, you know. But, you know, you live, you learn, and you take people for who they present themselves to you. And no love lost, I always look at him as a person who could have been a very, very great leader for Tobago. And, I mean, I don't know where the future will take him in particular, but he is the person that brought a lot of us into this, that we can't forget. And then going forward, sometimes the leaders that take you a certain distance can only take you that far, and then somebody else has to take up that baton and take you the rest of the way. And that, to me, is what has happened here.
All right. Well, I tell you, we're getting really deep here, viewers. We've got to take a break. We continue chatting this morning beneath the surface. Straight talk, no chaser. Definitely no chaser this morning with the Secretary Burris. So join us just after the break. Viewers, welcome back this morning to Beneath the Surface, Straight Talk, No Chaser. We're still chatting on set still chatting on set this morning with Secretary Tashia Burris. And just to share a little bit about what's happening on the live, we see Rodney Piggott, who is indicating here, that is great news, Tashia, God's grace, Burris. My will for you is that complementarity has manifested itself in your life. Mark Kenneth says, great job. Liam sends a thumbs up, 2 thumbs ups actually. Joanne Clark says, congratulations, Miss Burris. Continue to stay grounded, my dear. Rodney Piggott also says, authenticity would have called you or DM'd you. Political mischief was definitely at play. Keep your head up. All right, so we want to encourage you this morning to share your comments and your questions on the live. We are really happy to share them with our guests this morning. Now, you know, as we were talking this morning, you had quite a lot to say in the first half of the interview, and we want to focus a little bit more now on the division. All right, so the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation is one of the most visible and multifaceted portfolios in the THA. How did you balance those competing priorities?
So I think one of the things that really helped me was the fact that I had, I think, the most appropriate background going into the division. So I have a bachelor's in computing. I have a master's in marketing management, international marketing management. And I also worked at the port for a number of years. So the transportation portfolio, the tourism portfolio, and a little bit of the culture was already technically covered based on my 21 years of work experience before I came into the job. So that prepared me from the outset. Secondly, I think that one of the things that really helped really was having a solid administrator. I've had 7 administrators since I've been in the chair. And yeah, and and a secretary is nothing without a good administrator, because contrary to what a lot of people believe, the secretary is not the accounting officer of the division. You have general direction and control, but the person who is the one who signs the checks, the person who is the one who kind of makes the decisions at the operational level in terms of carrying out your mandate, that is your administrator. And if that person is not competent, you are like a dead fish in water. So I think I had the benefit of having very solid administrators. I must take the opportunity to commend my very first administrator, which is Wendy Guy Hernandez, and my second administrator, Miss Sherry-Ann Edwards-Louis. Those 2 women really set the stage for the term that we've had, the successes that we have been able to experience. And then my current administrator, Miss Shelley Trim, has really just simply been awesome in my view. And you notice it's mostly women that I've called, because woman is boss in the THG still.
Have you ever had a male administrator?
I've had 2 male administrators, but the thing about tourism or that particular division is that in the administrative cadre, an administrator can be moved around throughout the different divisions. And if that person is not a subject matter expert in that particular field, it might be a little bit more difficult for that person to be able to get a grasp of everything that is required. Or if they are not in a place where they are willing to learn, because in tourism, you have to be willing to learn on your feet. The cleaner can teach you a lesson. The oldest person in the organization has 30 years of experience to share with you in a sector that they have seen change in so many ways, and you have to be open to those experiences. Yes, there's a lot of administrative things that take place within the division, but because of the multifaceted nature of what we do, you just kind of have to be open to managing situations that you have never been taught to manage. Nobody could tell you how to build a sector after a global pandemic. There's no book that I could have bought that could have taught me that. We had an oil spill, the first time in our history. How do we treat with this? Yeah. Exactly. How do we treat with this? How do we respond? What do we do first, second, third, fourth, fifth? We had a shark attack. I mean, you would think that for odds that these things should not be happening one after the other. All of these things happened within the last year. And so in particular, in the last year, it has stretched. And you have to go beyond, and you have to now reach out. All of these partnerships that I've been able to form, because the travel is not to go and shop. I hate shopping. The travel is to go into the places where the conversations are taking place with the people who can help you. So Tobago now has access to regional and international doors because I go out and I do the work.
And I like how you said that. So it's not about shopping.
No, it's not. Well, maybe it was shopping for people before, but it's certainly not shopping for me, because I am exhausted. In fact, I actually have a fear of flying. It's something that people don't even know, but I get anxiety when I have to fly. So that flying for work is not something that I technically enjoy. I enjoy the work. I don't enjoy the time it takes to get to where I have to go. And certainly one of the things that I've been able to do, because I am a workaholic, sadly, is that every time we go out, I advocate for Tobago, because when Tobago shows up in the room, it's Tobago by itself. Trinidad has not shown up in the tourism space for quite a number of years. And we can't wait on Trinidad to take tourism seriously. Tourism is our lifeblood. So that's why Tobago have to go in the room and sit next to Virgin Islands, and sit next to Turks and Caicos, and sit next to St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Barbados, and stand up and talk on behalf of Tobago, because I'm not going to talk on behalf of Trinidad. I cannot appreciate the Trinidad context. But what I will do is advocate for Tobago. What I will do is sit in meetings and say, look, Tobago needs this training. Can your organization come and do some training with our service provider? Do you have a program where we can get some grants? Please send some information to me. Do you have someone that we could talk to? We have a project that we want to execute in a community. Who is your liaison in Trinidad? These are the conversations that we have. And these conversations are happening on the local, regional, and international front. And that is what representation requires. That is what the person who is sitting in that chair, who will ever sit in that chair, it requires you to open your mouth on behalf of Tobago in rooms that you don't even think that you should be in. Sometimes the gravity of things, because you're this small island, 116 square miles. Everybody else is, you're seeing everybody else is friends and pals with one another. They've cemented their partnerships and their relationships. You're watching destinations who have independence and could make decisions on their tourism sector at the drop of the hat. If they want to abolish all their landing taxes to get more planes to fly, they could do that. But Tobago can't.
You cannot. Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to get to a couple of questions coming in on the live in just a little while here. Mm-hmm. Now, you've spoken about the branded Tobago. Mm-hmm. How would you define that brand now, and what makes it distinct in the global tourism market? We're talking tourism, Tobago's brand.
Mm-hmm. So, you know what I have come to recognize? We don't see ourselves the way that people see us. Everything that we have as a product, we have in such huge quantity compared to other destinations. So other destinations may have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 things. We have 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 things. We have eco, we have dive, we have culture, we have heritage, we have party, we have quiet, we have sun, and sea. We have the oldest protected rainforest in the world. We have history. We have fought over 33 times. The things that we have food, we have harvest, we have other destinations
you're just going on, we have.
And that's what I'm saying. Other destinations don't, but they sell the little that they have.
It's marketing.
It's not just marketing. Their people have an appreciation of selling what they have. So that our challenge is that we need to abolish the idea of customer service. Because Brand Tobago is not customer service. We have manners. If anybody is coming to tell you that customer service is about saying good morning, good evening, and good night, walk out of the class. Walk out of the class. If they start with that, walk out of the class. What we have to do, and we already do it well, and we just simply have to harness it more, is how do we create unforgettable experiences? And what I've found in talking to people, because Brand Tobago is not what we create to know. A brand is what people perceive you to be. And when I talk to people about their experiences with Tobago, I have had German visitors tell me that they visited Tobago 20 years ago when they were teenagers, fell in love with Tobago, and now they are visiting Tobago with their grandchildren. And they have come back every single year since their first visit, barring COVID. And they come back and do the same things. Stay in Castara, pulsing on the beach, bonfire, eat at the local restaurants, hike up to the waterfall. And every year they look forward to coming to do that. Tobago does not have to hide its story. When people talk about crime in the tourism sector, in different destinations, a lot of destinations suppress their crime news because obviously they don't want crime on the front page. They don't want that to affect their image. But when we talk about Tobago being safe, that is the actual truth. A visitor is actually very safe in Tobago. I'm not saying we don't have challenges with crime, but we don't have to hide something that doesn't generally exist. So when we get the negative travel advisories against Trinidad and Tobago, it hurts us more than them because people already know Trinidad for crime. They don't know Tobago for crime, but they'll trust whatever the advisory says. And it's a blanket advisory, and that's something that we have been fighting against. So what we have to do is ramp up what we do best, create those unforgettable experiences. Because I could tell you word of mouth is still king. As much as people are looking at what's happening on social media, as much as people may be reading the newspapers, as much as people are just talking amongst themselves, when people say, look, I recommend this place because the food is excellent, all these influencers who have come, Alex and Nicholas Nuvan and these people, that's word of mouth they're doing via social media. They are literally saying to people, look, I came to Tobago and I went by this corner shop and I met Nicole, and Nicole hands sweet, and I had some dumpling and some stew pork, and you all need to come to Tobago and go by Nicole. That's word of mouth, live and in living color. so that what we have, we have to start to see what we have as being so valuable, because the rest of the world sees the worth is for those of us who are here, who are lucky to live on this 116 square miles, where you can move from the flattest part of Tobago in the southwest to the peaks in the north, all in the same day. You can move from beachfront to forest. There are some destinations that have no beach. All they have is forest. There are some who only have beaches and they have no forest. They don't have a river, they don't have nothing. We have it all. And we need to be the ones. We have to show up for the destination in how we treat people, in how we interact with each other. It starts with us. The tourism sector could transform overnight with not $1 spent. The attitude, our attitude has to be turned towards how do we create unforgettable experiences for everyone, not just who visiting, but for people who live here as well.
All right. Very quickly here on the live, Newton George is asking, what is the Secretary's view on the user fee to Little Tobago?
Oh, well, Little Tobago, I went there earlier this year for the first time in my life. And I'm not sure what the user fee is, so I don't want to be misquoted. I don't know what the cost of it. Yes. So in terms of persons paying a fee, now most of our attractions on the island are free, and that is actually strange in general, because you go to other destinations and you have to pay for everything. And it is a conversation that has come up. Should we start to charge? Because under the Division of Tourism, we have a number of assets under our portfolio, and the question is asked: should we charge? Because to maintain these sites and facilities cost a lot of money.
Yes.
What I've recognized in one of the study tours that I did to Jamaica is, instead of charging a user fee at a particular facility, what they did was invite persons to come in and open businesses. And they were able to now drive income to the space without charging for people to come in. I don't know what would be the best model for a place like Little Tobago, because it is a protected space. There may be certain rules and regulations that govern how the space can be used. And obviously, I would think that the stakeholders would be consulted before any fee is imposed. My only hope is that people are clear if a fee is going to be imposed, what that fee is going to cover, and if it is that we can ensure that the facilities are kept to a particular standard if we are charging people to go to it. Because it doesn't make any sense charging a fee if it is that the facility is not kept to a particularly high standard.
Yes.
So there has to be a balance in the thing. I think because Little Tobago Island is particularly sensitive, that there may be need to put some kind of controls in. But in terms of determining what is the best kind of controls, I think the stakeholders are the best people to determine what those controls, those management controls, should look like.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we have the start of the cruise ship season. From tomorrow, we're going to chat with the secretary on that, as well as we're going to get an idea of some of the recent figures as it relates to visitor arrivals and stuff. We're going to get into the tourism or cruise ship season as we continue to chat with her this morning. So viewers, stay tuned. Join us after the break. Remember, this is Beneath the Surface, straight talk, no chaser. Viewers, it is Beneath the Surface, straight talk, no chaser. Still chatting with Secretary Tashia Burris. Just before we took the break, we mentioned here that we're going to go a little bit into the start of the cruise ship season, which begins tomorrow. She'll chat with us on what we can expect, or rather what visitors can expect, as well as give us some background information in terms of what some of the previous figures look like in terms of visitor arrivals and, some of what's been happening within the background. So, Secretary Burris.
Yes.
Before we get into what's happening, what starts or what kicks off from tomorrow, give us some figures. What sort of arrival figures have we been looking at? Have we seen improvements in the last 4 years?
This year? So this year we have, I think, 41 calls on the schedule, which is similar to the amount of calls that we had last year. And coming off of that very, very huge season that we had in 2023, 2024, where we had something like, I think it was about 70 calls. In total, between 2022, from when we reopened after COVID to present, we've had over 200,000 cruise arrivals into Tobago, which is a whopping figure. We've not had that many arrivals since I think we benefited from getting cruises after Ivan hit Grenada some years ago. So, that particular season, which was the one with the amount of calls and the larger ships and the amount of passengers, really tested the systems that we have on island. And some of those systems really are not designed to take that amount of persons on island at the same time. So that within the last 2 seasons, seasons in particular, we've gotten the similar amount of numbers between Charlottesville, Scarborough, and we actually have 2 calls this year that are going to beaches. Castara and I think Englishman's Bay are going to have 2 calls from 2 cruise ships. So that cruise ships are actually not even looking just at calling at general ports of call, but they are looking to call at other places on your island that may be able to take that cruise ship traffic. And for us, coming out of the fact that we know that our transportation is a huge issue. I don't know if you remember, maybe 2 seasons ago, the first call, we had the situation with the maxi drivers and things like that. We shared that service with the school service. Those maxis are the same maxis that are transporting our school children. And that is not an ideal situation for us. And that situation is actually one of the situations that hampers our ability to attract more cruise ships. We don't have the amount of transportation on island that is necessary to support larger and more ships within one season, because we have cruise ship operators, we have tour operators, and cruise ships have very, very strict guidelines. When they contract your service and they say that your bus has to be waiting at 6 a.m., these same maxis are picking up children
at the same time.
At the same time. So that we always get complaints about how late the maxis are. Depending on what's happening, if it's a bad rainy season and children are tracking mud into the maxis, we've had some complaints about cleanliness and things like that. And, we've been working with our stakeholders and trying to work with our cruise operators and trying to work with our cruise lines. But the reality is that we need more transportation into the system. And it's difficult because the ban situation, Tobago has to get more bans for persons to be able to purchase large maxis. 2, you notice the profile of a maxi driver is an older person, so banks may not look favorably on giving them loans because maxis are not cheap. So that these are some interventions that we have to kind of try to find a solution to if we want to grow that sector. It is a sector, however, that we have gotten very great reviews with respect to people's on-island experiences. They particularly love going to Buku Reef, they love going to Pigeon Point, they love going to Argyle Waterfall, they love going to the Cocoa Tour. So, in terms of the on-island experiences, we've generally gotten great reviews for those, but we have to put some more infrastructure support systems in place if we want to grow the sector in a sustainable way. But for now, between 40 and 50 ships is actually our sweet spot in terms of what we can manage now. And then over the next couple of years, and these are things that we already have started having some discussions with the service providers about in terms of how do we bring in more ground transportation so that we can attract more ships, because we have the transportation on island to deal with our customers in a particular way.
Even as we are focused on the cruise ship season kicking off tomorrow, what can tourists expect? You mentioned a little while ago some of the areas that the visitors have indicated that they enjoy.
Yeah.
But what can they expect? They get off at Scarborough.
So before they even leave the ports, I'm so excited that you have asked this question, because this year I must commend the executive manager at the Port of Scarborough, Mr. Dion Lawrence, and his entire team. I took a site visit there about 2 days ago. And for the last 3 years, the port has just been the port. We've done some upgrades. We have this beautiful arch that people come and take pictures under, but I could not prepare myself for what I saw when I went there 2 days ago. So they collaborated with the Scarborough Secondary School Visual Arts students. And what they did was create an entire mural walkway from the ship, the disembarkation point, straight out to where people are disembarking. And those students, plus some of the staff at the port, they've been painting these beautiful murals that depict Tobago. In fact, one of the murals actually mimics the steps of the jig. So once somebody walks on that mural and they follow the steps, they're actually learning the jig. And they've opened up the grassy area. They've taken down the internal fence. So if you go there now, you see a lot of sprucing up taking place. We have some installations to do in the spaces so that people could come and they can have a more enjoyable experience on the port. We have the entertainment. We want to do some more promotional stuff in terms of offering some different tastings and different activities. You might see a batty mill pop up. You never know. But what we want to do is really create an immersive experience from the time they come off the ship. And in terms of the sprucing up that has been done in that area, the brightening up, there's now going to be a swing feature where people could take pictures in front of the cannon. They're going to see some of our Tobago Carnival installations on the green space. They're going to see our lovely performers, our dancers, and you may see some other persons in the mix as well who we don't normally see for cruise ship, but we want to be able to give people a taste of all the talent that Tobago has to offer. But I'm very excited at the enhanced immersive experience that we are creating, particularly this year. And I know that our cruise ship partners, because we have a very excellent relationship with both Royal Caribbean and Carnival, who supplies the bulk of the cruises to the destination, one of the things that we took away from attending sea trade conferences is that people don't necessarily want to come to a port and have the same experience at every port. So if you have ever gone on cruise, it's the port, there's this big duty-free area, all the duty-free shots are the same, so it doesn't matter which port you go to, it's almost the same experience you're given. They say people want to have more organic, immersive experiences, more authentic experiences. They want to know that they've landed in a destination and they take away something new from that destination. They've learned something new. And I think that we've hit the nail on the head this year with this immersive experience, and we're excited to be collaborating with the Port Authority on that. And I must give kudos to Scarborough Secondary School visual arts students and their teacher for coming on board and creating what will be an unforgettable visual experience for all visitors.
And this is exciting news for us here in Tobago. And of course, we would love to hear what these visitors would see. In fact, we want to know what they have to say after the fact.
We will probably have to come and check them out on Friday because our first call is on Friday. We have, I think, 4 calls scheduled this November. And then the bulk of the calls start coming in December, January, February. That's when we have most of the traffic coming in for the cruise ship season. And we're going to see different things that play different elements and different opportunities for us to really showcase the best of what Tobago has to offer. And that's what we have to do. Take our opportunities every single time to showcase the best of what Tobago has to offer. It's not hard if you have the passion for it, if you have the love for it, and I could tell you our visitors really do appreciate it.
All right. Now, airlift, and I know we're running out of time here, so we've got quite a few questions here. Airlift remains a critical issue for Tobago. What were the most significant breakthroughs and what work still needs to be done?
So one of the, I would describe it as a millstone around our neck, is that we've had long-standing airlift arrangements with entities like BA, we had Virgin, we had others at another point in time. But when I came in, we inherited BA Virgin Condor. The biggest breakthrough that I think that we've been able to experience over the last 4 years is me being able to renegotiate that BA contract downwards, because we pay for airlift and we pay a lot of money for airlift. And, you know, I kind of had to go in the room and say to them, look, we can't pay that money, you know, and we're willing to work with you. And we have stayed with you. We've stuck with you. You are a partner. We've consolidated behind you. You need to give us a better deal. And we were able to get that better deal because I insisted that the people of Tobago deserved better for all the years that we have been having this partnership with these airlines. So we saved millions of dollars last year. And despite the fact that this year, particularly the UK market, there's been some softening in that market this year. But that's because there was a state of emergency declared on the 30th of December last year, in the middle of the height of our booking period for winter, and that affected sales. In addition to that, we had the 3 negative advisories coming: UK, USA, Canada, and then obviously state of emergency continued. BA stopped marketing for 3 months. So we didn't have as many passengers as we had this time last year. And then the UK visa restrictions were imposed in April. And that also carved into the local traffic as well, because UK was one of the places where just with your Trinidad and Tobago passport, you could go on a plane and take a flight. So now everybody has to go apply for a visa. So all of that has affected our outbound and inbound numbers for this year. But I am happy to say that last week when I was at World Travel Market in London, they didn't come back to the table and say, well, the numbers are looking lower this year than last year. I need to go back paying what you paid before. Nope, we saved our money again. And we were able to maintain the current arrangement that we have, which is paying less And we did give the commitment, however, that we would have to ramp up our marketing in the UK market. In particular, because the UK market has been focused so much on ecotourism, they're very excited about celebrating the 250th anniversary of the Mainridge Forest Reserve next year. So we want to be able to create some very, very positive buzz around that in the UK market. And we continue our conversations. You know, we're trying to get a Canadian flight. We did speak to Cal about that. That deal has been on the table for an entire year. I'm crossing my fingers that we're able to get an announcement very soon about that. And then we have our other conversations happening with regional carriers, LIAT, Inter-Caribbean, and they are simply waiting on some situations on their end to be resolved before they start flights into the destination. So 2026, when the new airport opens, we should be seeing more than Cal planes landing. We should be seeing more than BA planes landing. We should be seeing more than Condor planes landing. And I'm looking forward to being able to witness that, being able to see Tobago open itself up and become more accessible, whether it be regionally or internationally, in the shortest possible time.
All right. Now, you've also introduced several technology-driven tools and digital platforms.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. How do these reflect Tobago's readiness for a smarter, data-driven tourism economy?
Well, I mean, if you're a driver, they say that you have to check out your nose in order to go right. And
you
if
have to?
You have to check out your nose. Like if you're trying to come out of a side street and you're trying to get the traffic, you have to check out your nose, right?
Right.
Everybody else in all over the world have embraced technology and tourism as the next frontier. And what we've been trying to do is help Tobago check out the nose, essentially, right? So the Safe Tobago app, which was conceptualized between myself and a young man named Joshua Porter, who works with me, who is completely awesome.
Good morning to Joshua.
Yes. The SOE was declared the second one. And, you know, even though we tried to manage the conversation around, oh, something's happening in Trinidad, but Tobago remains safe and open for business, we felt like if we couldn't just go out with that a second time around to explain why it happened again. So we decided, here what, maybe what we should do is look at how do we make people feel safer once they're on island. So we got into the mind of the visitor. When you're on vacation, you're not reading papers. You're not reading local papers. You're not looking at local news. You're on vacation. You want to be on the beach. You want to be drinking. You want to be hanging out. You want to be sleeping, whatever. And we created this app with the visitor in mind. But as much as we were iterating the development, we realized that this was very needed for citizens in Tobago as well. So what it has turned into is not just a visitor app to provide information and alerts to people who are on island. So once you land in Tobago, you download the app. You have alerts so that whether it be a weather alert, whether it be a planning to take a tour up on the northeast and an accident happen, and we alert you to take an alternative route or to change your mind from going up on that side, sargassum alert, things like that. Things that will, the kind of information that a visitor would need. Contacts for all of the major health institutions, hospital, health center, police station, whomever, embassy contact, you know, things might happen with you on island that you need to talk to whoever might be the representative for your particular embassy on island. These are the things that we have available in the app for the visitor. But for the citizen, it allows you to report incidents. And it could be not just crime, but report incidents in general. Because what we have, TIMA has a very solid group of stakeholders where anytime anything happens on the island, it is passed through TIMA and it gets on to the respective stakeholders. But what happens is that everybody at the same time gets all the reports on everything that happens. What the app is able to do is to differentiate which reports are supposed to go to where. So if it's something concerning health, only health will get that report and not everybody else. If it's just concerning TNTech, TNTech will get that report and not everybody else. And it's really able to streamline for citizens in particular. And one of the things that is very important about the app is the anonymous reporting feature. You don't need to give your name. You don't need to put in your phone number.
Just
you don't
give
need
the information,
to. You can snap
info.
a picture and send it. And that will be sent to where it has to be sent. Because I know one of the challenges that people have is with confidentiality. And what the app gives you the opportunity to do is sit in the privacy of your house, on the covers under your bed, and send some information and know that it will get into responsible hands. It will only be seen by responsible eyes, and it will be treated in a responsible way.
All right. Certainly, Tobago is making some strides here.
Yes.
All right.
But one of the things that I'm actually leaving behind, and again, Joshua built this platform for me because I asked him to, the challenge of managing a division. because a lot of times you're dealing with a manual system and you have files, and it's only when you're in office that you can actually do work. He has actually built a platform that allows whomever the secretary is or the administrator is to manage the division remotely. So anywhere in the world, at any point in time, any hour of the day, you log into this portal, you see all our projects, you see what's happening with our accounting, you see the status of all of our projects, you see what tasks are outstanding, you see who is late on tasks.
Finally.
You can, yes, so we're piloting it in the division this fiscal year. He is working with building out the individual systems, even the situation that came up with Mr. Gardner this week in terms of his payment. One of the things that we are moving aggressively to treat with is digitizing accounting. Too many things get lost, too many things get, and we can't continue to make excuses. We simply have to make sure that we have solutions. And the solution is that if it is that we can build a system that tracks everything that comes in, then at any given point in time, we should be able to know where something is at and be able to communicate with people, because that's what people want. People want communication.
At any point.
At any point.
At
yes.
any point. Now, we've noticed as well here that you have not thrown your hat into the ring with regards to elections.
No.
What is happening with that? You were appointed councillor.
Yes.
Is it that you plan once successful, once this administration is successful, within the next election, that you will continue as councillor?
Well, councillors serve at the pleasure of the chief secretary. So it's really up to him to determine who he appoints as a councillor. When I accepted the appointment, which was something that I never planned for, I always had in my mind that I had 4 years to do what I had to do. And if I look back on the 4 years that I've had, we've had many great successes. There are so many things left to do. There are so many things that are in train. There are so many things that I wish that I was able to do in the 4 years. But the reality is 4 years is a very, very short time. However, I believe that whomever comes into the chair, if it's not me after, they have a very solid foundation on which to continue the good work that we have started. I also personally held the belief that because the party had such a resounding victory, we captured 14 out of the 15 seats, that I felt that everybody who won should have been given the opportunity to serve at least 2 terms, because I think that in terms of when we got this slogan, let me fix this, we really did not consider how much fixing had to be done. And yesterday, listening to some of my colleagues' presentations and having them to really kind of lay out how many things that they met in divisions that had to be fixed. And it's not just what was left over from the previous administration, but we did come through a global pandemic where we were on shutdown. 4 years is not enough time to fix. So I just kind of felt that in terms of the colleagues and the relationships that I have with them, that they should be given all the latitude to be given the fullest amount of time to succeed in representation. So for me, politics doesn't necessarily need a title. I don't need to be a secretary. I don't need to be a representative. I have been working with and for people since I was 17 years old, and that does not stop. So even if it is that I'm no longer in public life, I'm no longer in this position, it is just more latitude that I have to do the things that are near and dear to my heart. I want to start an NGO. I want to volunteer some more. I want to go back to school. And I want to continue to contribute. Technology is one of those places where I think that we could make a huge difference. There are some things that I'm cooking up that I think that would make huge impact in communities. And, you know, while the opportunity to serve is something that I hold very near and dear to my heart, service is not just for a select group of people. It is for anybody who is willing to put themselves out there and do the job. So yeah, that's where it's at.
Very quickly here, what 2 projects would you like to see come to fruition should you have another term in office?
So immediately the airlift. I want to see Tobago become more accessible. Our marketing is limited because marketing doesn't work if people can't get to your destination. So that if we are able to solve the airlift challenge, we can now market better, and in newer markets, we can look for newer markets that are aligned with what Tobago has to sell in terms of our brand aesthetic. That's 1. And 2, one of the challenges that Tobago particularly faces, it's a good challenge to have, is that about 90% of our accommodation operators in this space are locals. And that's something we should be very, very proud of. Other destinations, most of their hotels and whatnot are owned by foreigners and foreign conglomerates. So when that money goes into that hotel, it's expatriated out of the country. We retain a lot more of our tourist dollar because we are supporting local local communities and local businesses. So what I would like to see, we have been talking about a program that we would want to be able to bring in some new room stock and renovate some of the existing room stock to bring our product up to the level of the rest of the Caribbean and the rest of the world. So I'm excited for that, but it's going to be a huge undertaking, a very expensive undertaking. But once we get the commitment from the local accommodation providers, once we could work out the financing and get all of Tobago on board, I think that Tobago is very well poised to cause a lot of noise in 2026. And we just have to have the focus. We just have to have the tenacity behind it. We just have to have the will and spirit for it. We do this well already, harvest time. We do it well already, Christmas time. We do it well already, Carnival. All we have to do is just extrapolate that success across the year.
Right. I'm just stealing you some airtime here. So one more question here as we steal some airtime. How do you want history to record your leadership in this chapter of Tobago's development?
I tried my best. Every day that I woke up, even when I wasn't feeling 100% myself, whether it be physically or mentally or emotionally, I want Tobago to remember that every day I gave of my best. There are days I could not be my best, yes? But in everything that I've done, whether I've walked into the division, whether I've met people on the side of the road, gone on the beach to hang out with people, or even travel the world and sell the gospel of the greatest sister island on the planet, I went out there with all of my heart, all of my soul, and I've used every single skill that I have and those that I've had to learn along the way to try to move the needle in the right direction. And if I was able to do a little bit of the movement, then I'm looking forward to the other people who are going to come on board to do the rest of the movement, and I'll be there cheering them on, most definitely.
And what grade would you give yourself? A to F?
Grade. I'll give myself a solid B+. Solid B+.
Solid B+.
Solid B+.
Okay, I think Tobago will take your B+. If you could look into the camera here for a very brief movement, and you could look directly to your, speak to the people of Tobago one last time in this capacity, what would you say to them from your heart?
Crying. I honestly feel like crying. What would I say? Tobago, you are greater than you give yourself credit for. I have watched people describe to me in awe what they see. We are sitting on a gem, and we have to start to treat it as such. We have to start to treat each other as if we are part of a valuable ecosystem. Leadership is not just for the people who sit in the chairs. Leadership is for each and every one of us. We have to lead in our individual lives. We have to lead in our families. We have to lead in our schools. We have to lead in our churches, in our communities. This island can be greater than we are now. We're already great, but we can be greater. And the only way that we can be greater is if we all get on board with the idea that we have to make this place great. So if you have to take away any one thing from me being in this chair, please see yourself as part of the work to make this island truly great. Thank you so very much for this chance to be of service to you.
Thank you so much, Secretary.
Jesus.
Secretary Tashia Burris. And very quickly here on the live, Joanne Clark says, I pray that the CS will take you as a counselor once again. Hugh Broom says, thanks much for your service. All right.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for being with us this morning, Secretary Tashia Burris. Viewers, thank you so much for joining us this morning for Beneath the Surface, straight talk, no chaser. We trust that you have a really great day, and we will see you tomorrow, God willing. So be blessed. Bye-bye.